Hi and welcome. You're listening to Historic Huguenot Street's weekly program on WFNP The Edge, where we discuss regional New Paltz history and upcoming programs and events. I'm Kaitlin Gallucci, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at Historic Huguenot Street, which is a nonprofit 10-acre national historic landmark district dedicated to preserving historic buildings, artifacts, and manuscripts, and promoting the stories of the Huguenot Street families who founded New Paltz. If you missed our show last week with Collections Manager Ashley Trainer, you can listen to it anytime on Historic Huguenot Street's YouTube channel. March is Women's History Month, and this year, 2017, marks 100 years since New York State signed women's suffrage into law, 3 years before the United States passed the 19th Amendment, granting women the right to vote. In honor of Women's History Month and the ratification of women's suffrage in New York, our curatorial department has developed an exhibit entitled Stories Untold, a glimpse into the lives of women in the Hudson Valley. This exhibit will be on view on March 25th when we launch our Women's History Tour, and then again beginning opening day, May 6th, through about mid-May. Joining me now to discuss the exhibit are HHS curatorial interns and SUNY New Paltz students, Emily Finan, an art history major with a history minor, and Hannah Peterson, a double major in art history and Italian, minoring in ancient world studies. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me. So first, can you tell us a bit about what interested you in becoming an intern at Historic Huguenot Street?
Well, ever since I became a student here at SUNY New Paltz, I always thought Historic Huguenot Street was super fascinating, but I didn't really know much about it. So when I went to the volunteer fair on campus, I found out that an internship in curations and collections was available to me if I applied. And as an art history major with a history minor that wants a career in the museum field, who kind of doesn't really know if I want to be a curator or whatnot, I thought the experience here would kind of guide me in the right direction and give me some beneficial hands-on experience.
Yeah, that's great. Was this similar for you, Hannah?
It was pretty similar. So I had friends who had done this before.
Oh, okay. That's always good.
So they kind of encouraged me to go and seek it out. And again, as an art history major who wants to work in museums, I thought it would be a really cool opportunity to work at a historic house museum. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, there was also a bit of a personal reason too, in addition to professional reasons.
Right.
I actually grew up in France, very close to La Rochelle, which is where a lot of the original Huguenots came from.
You're right, yeah.
In that area, so I thought it'd be a really cool opportunity to kind of get to know the people from where I'm from who made a home where I've made a home, kind of thing.
You're right. So, no, that's really neat.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, great. So what type of work are you guys doing?
We help out a lot with the, obviously with the collections and curatorial staff. So Ashley Trainer, who you spoke to last week, mm-hmm. and Josephine Bloodgood. We do a lot with the online database of all the objects that are housed here at mm-hmm. Historic Huguenot Street. So we update the online registry, we input things that have been left out of the database, and we also help with research for upcoming exhibitions, and also I've helped with research for the Abe House, and including future object, or just looking up objects that could be included in the Abe House to mm-hmm. really recreate it as a lived-in space.
Yeah.
And then also, most importantly, I think, we write Object of the Week blog posts.
Yeah, I love those.
Yeah, so it kind of brings the objects to life that are still in the collection storage that people don't get to see.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I love about
cool.
it, is that it's there's so much obviously you can see in the houses, but we have so much more, and so it gives people a nice opportunity to see that.
Yeah, a lot of the research about that too is kind of fun because it's almost like a treasure hunt. I know personally when I had to do my first blog post, it was really difficult to find information on Maria Hasbrook. Mm-hmm. So I had to dig through these really old genealogy books, and it was just really fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I guess thinking about it now, I realized that these are typically objects that you don't, you're not looking up the object and it already has its backstory and you just like write about it. Like you're creating, you're researching the backstory of that object.
You're like a detective. It's really
cool. No, that's awesome.
And my first object of the week, or it's kind of intimidating because you're just like, okay, I have this object, now what?
Yeah.
Like my first object of the week was actually on a ladle, which doesn't sound very interesting, but when you like delve deeper, it's like this ladle.
There was so much there.
There's so much there. Like it was, it had a coin included in the bottom, and that was actually an act of treason that you could be punished for.
Wow.
Just for a ladle. It's just like, what?
Yeah. No, that was a really cool one, definitely. Great. So now we'll discuss a couple of Hudson Valley women who are going to be featured in the Stories Untold exhibit. So first, let's talk about Esther Howell.
Yeah, Esther was really cool. She was born in Lloyd, New York in 1839, and I actually had the honor of transcribing a lot of her letters that are in our collection to her sister-in-law, Mary. Which was really interesting. She was kind of eccentric and like she went against contemporary things that were going on in her world. Like she was an avid member of the community. She was educated in political and social affairs, but she was a member of the Methodist Church. And a lot of her letters actually, although she married Nelson Horton in 1868, a lot of her letters entailed her being like, oh, all these men are courting me, but I just don't believe in the institution of marriage because I don't need it because I'm better.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
She was great. She critiqued a lot of social norms at the time, like religion and marriage, obviously, and the role of women in society. So yeah, she was really cool. I liked researching her a lot.
Wow. No, that's really interesting. That's awesome that, you have all those letters that it's like, her words directly like really tell you about what type of person she was.
It's one thing reading like about someone obviously, but then when you see their words and their like critique of society, it's more personal, I think.
Totally.
It's really fun. I like it.
That's great. I mean, especially because you said her letters were to her sister-in-law. Her sister-in-law. So I'm sure they were very personal, you know? Yes, these weren't like professional letters. These were probably intimate.
Oh yeah, some of them she was saying that she wanted to go live with Mary. They were very close, like more close than you would think you would see in like today's standards, I guess, because they're writing letters over like long spans of time. It's difficult to see people when there's distance, like but yeah, she kept telling her mom that she wanted to live with her so badly and she missed her. It was nice.
That's sweet. Yeah, that's cool.
That's cool.
Awesome. And how about Mary Elizabeth Hasbrouck?
All right. Well, Mary Elizabeth Hasbrouck was also pretty cool. She wasn't originally from New Paltz or the New Paltz area. She was actually born in New York City, but her family did have a lot of ties with the Newburgh and the Hudson Valley area. So later on in her life, she married William Cornelius Hasbrouck, who is one of the or who is a part of the Hasbrouck family, who's very important here in New Paltz, of course. And they had 9 kids together.
Wow.
Yeah. But before she really got married and came up to the Hudson Valley to like settle down, she was actually a pretty well-respected pianist.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and she studied at New York City, Madame Pardo's Female Academy. And yeah, she was actually a really good pianist. So.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. That's like Ashley and I were talking about last week, how interesting it is to realize that these women that we're talking about, some of the things that they accomplished really were, I mean, impressive by any standard, but especially for the time.
For the time, and also the fact that they had a life before marriage, I think is really interesting too. And we kind of, I think back in those days, and just in history in general, we think of women as having, or their role kind of starts after motherhood.
Right,
kind of
they're
thing.
just leading up to that.
But the fact is, they had things going on for them before any man. So that's really cool. And also, something that really fascinates me as an art history person, there are actually 2 portraits that are going to be included in the collection of Mary and her mother. Oh, no, sorry, not her mother. Thinking of women. Mary and her husband, William Cornelius Hasbrouck. So there are 2 portraits of them by Asher B. Durand, who's...
Oh, nice.
Yeah, who's a painter from the Hudson Valley School, which I think is really fascinating. So it really connects them into the whole history of the Hudson Valley as well.
Yeah, it really brings it back home.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
That's great. Great. So right now we're going to take a quick break. This is WFNP The Edge. Hi, and welcome back. You're listening to Historic Huguenot Street's weekly program on WFNP The Edge. I'm Kaitlin Gallucci, and I'm speaking to curatorial interns Emily Finan and Hannah Peterson. Now, Emily, last week, Ashley spoke a little bit about the artist Rachel Maria Hasbrouck. You researched and wrote the entry on Hasbrouck's painting for the Object of the Week blog. So I was wondering if you could share some of what drew you to that piece or anything that you found particularly interesting while you were researching the artist.
Okay. Well, as an art history major, I just am naturally drawn to paintings. So when I thought Object of the Week blog post, I'm like, ooh, let's do a painting.
Yeah.
And this is actually in the office that I began interning at, and it was directly in front of me. And
I
was
okay.
Wow, this is super fascinating. But Josephine told me there wasn't really that much information on her, which I soon found out trying to research about her. She was the one I had to dig through genealogy books like crazy. But I felt like a detective. So yeah, she was super interesting because I recognized that it was a reproduction of a Hugo Sampson painting, which was located at Musée d'Orsay, which meant that Rachel Maria Hasbrouck had to have traveled to Paris to see this in person, which made sense because in the collection, in her collections that we have here at Historic Huguenot Street, I believe this painting is one of 3 or 4 of a realist-based reproduction, which I thought was super fascinating because she must have been progressive for her time to travel all the way to Paris to reproduce artworks, but this was going on at the same time that Impressionism was gaining a foothold in the art community and becoming like really popular. So I was interested in the fact that she was progressive enough to travel all the way to Paris to replicate these paintings, but she wasn't enthralled in this art world of Impressionism that was going on around her. So I was wondering whether her, desire to replicate realism was just merely an aesthetic preference or maybe based in her traditional American roots. But yeah, she was really cool. Other than that, she kept painting and being involved in the art world until I believe the age of like 72. She painted something, the Court of Honor in Poughkeepsie. She had her own studio above Main Street, although I'm not sure which Main Street because in the genealogy book it didn't specify.
Oh, that's right.
I believe it was Poughkeepsie or New Paltz, something of that nature. But she was fascinating to research nonetheless.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. And you're also currently writing, or I don't know if you've completed it or you're still writing it, an Object of the Week post about Ruth Linda Deo, who we also spoke a little bit about last week. I know there's like so many things, but what did you find interesting about Ruth?
I love this woman. I wish I could meet her and talk to her. She's great.
Yeah, Ashley was raving about her too.
She's awesome. Ashley told me about her and I was like, I have to do her as a post for Women's Month. I can't not. She's great. At the age of 3, she was a pianist prodigy. She literally, while people her age, toddlers were being potty trained, she was being potty trained at 3 years old. Like she was composing her own piano pieces.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
And performing them like abroad, and it was amazing. She went to London at like the age of 10 maybe. And when she gained notoriety just as a pianist, she decided that she wanted to go to Egypt because apparently, my favorite quote actually that I found out about her was at the age of 8. Her 3 favorite phrases were "Once upon a time, they lived happily ever after," and the word Egypt.
Aww.
So that was really cute. Apparently, so she was a pianist, she loved Egypt, and apparently she loved operas. So in 1924, she was like, I'm going to go to Cairo. And she went there and she melded all of these desires together. And she created this opera called Diadem of Stars, which was based on Nefertiti and Akhenaten. And she was kind of eccentric, though, too, at the same time, which was awesome to read
I'm
about.
sure.
She thought that the Egyptian sun god Ra was talking to her, telling her to make this play because it would benefit the world.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, she was awesome. She was also friends with Howard Carter, who, discovered King Tut's tomb.
Oh, you're right.
So she got to see, like, Nefertiti's bust that was discovered there before the rest of the world, which I'm sure, like, influenced part of her her opera. But unfortunately, World War II happened, and I don't think it really got much notice or recognition as an opera, but she was so cool.
Yeah. No, that's so fascinating. Yeah. I didn't realize that part. I'm glad that you mentioned, just that it seems like she just loved Egypt.
She loved
Before
Egypt.
we even got, like, it's like just such a random place that she just was like, that's the one. That's the place I need to go.
It's so fascinating. I don't know if it was because of the Egyptomania that was going on at the time with the discovery of King Tut's tomb. Everyone was kind of like obsessed with Egypt at that time.
Sure.
You can see that a lot in the decorative arts
of
the contemporary art movements going on then. But I think she loved it even as a kid beforehand. I'm not really sure what struck that flame in her to love Egypt, but I love it.
Maybe the sun god Ra told her.
Ra was speaking to her since she was born. How else can a 3-year-old write a piano composition?
Good point.
Like,
Good point.
Goodness.
But that's really cool too, because like, even today, I know that I had my Egypt phase, and we're both in an Egypt class now, the art of Egypt.
Oh, I bet that's great.
Egypt,
yeah.
Is really feeding into like the fascination that I had as a kid, that I think a lot of people have had as a kid. So it's like, we're similar.
No, it's so funny. Yeah, totally.
It's
amazing.
It's like a universal experience.
Yeah. I remember that, even going to the Met as a kid, like the Egyptian gallery was always where I ran to first. I don't know what I think Ra is talking to all of us.
It's so true. Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, now that you mention that, like, yeah, it is. It's something that's fascinating to all of us, I think, even as children, just in terms of, like, I mean, pyramids and hieroglyphics, it's like, it's just like, it's like it's from another world.
Yeah.
Aliens?
Yeah. Great. Awesome. Well, thank you guys both so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Before we go, I want to mention that we are launching a women's history tour this month on Saturday, March 25th, called In Her Words. That tour will be offered once a month, taking guests through 4 historic buildings and introducing guests to 6 women who played a role in local history, including a Native American who signed the 1677 Indian Deed, an enslaved African owned by a Huguenot family, a colonial woman managing her own estate, and an artist during the Progressive Era. Next week, I'll be joined by Ali Surgery, a SUNY New Paltz history student and public programming intern who helped to research and develop that tour. Pre-registration is required for that tour, but it's already available. You can register online at huguenotstreet.org. So we're wrapping up now, but listeners can tune in every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. for the rest of the semester at WFNP.org or 88.7 FM to hear more from Historic Huguenot Street. Visit huguenotstreet.org for information on all of our upcoming events. You can also follow us on social media and sign up for our email list to stay informed on what's happening on the street. And if you ever want to catch up on any of our past radio shows, they are all available on our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening.